Perfect timing, neighbour. Good morning. Hello. Welcome to SIGGRAPH 2015. Broadcasting live from the Foundry booth. What could go wrong? We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of good stuff for you today. Please interact using hashtag TFSIGGRAPH. Emma and I will be checking the feeds, relaying questions and shout outs for you. I will be joined by the wondrous Brad Peebler, who will be asking questions on your behalf as well. If you've got any shout outs for him too, please send them through using that hashtag. So, to kick off today, we sent out a little teaser to you at the beginning of August. It's out there. We made our announcement yesterday for Mari 3.0, and now you get a chance at home to have a looky at this, and also the people who didn't see it yesterday who are here on the show floor. So to kick off this morning, I am joined by the beautiful Rachel Munn, Mari Product Manager. Let's give her a cheer. Come on, people.
Thank you.
And also the wonderful Courtney Price, creative. I'm going to get this completely wrong. So do you want to tell us what you are? Creative?
Team manager.
Team manager. He's based in our Soho office. Some of you might have seen him around the world because he's always out on the road. Got any questions for the guys? Please send them through. Hashtag TFSIGGRAPH. Over to you, my darlings.
Thanks, Bex. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us today for the Mari 3 announcement. My name is Rachel Munn, and I am the Product Marketing Manager for Mari. This release marks a significant milestone for Mari and the work that we've done at the Foundry to combine the technology between our products. You may have joined us for the Modo 901 launch, where we announced the advanced viewport for Modo, which is technology that was actually taken from Mari. And to continue that story, we have worked really hard to integrate Modo's render engine into Mari. And we are really pleased to announce that that integration will ship with Mari 3. It doesn't require a separate Modo license and can be used for both rendering and baking. Having a render engine like Modo's inside of Mari really gives our artists amazing speed and flexibility, and it's this cross-pollination that really sets the theme for this release, and which you'll also be able to see in the influence that we took from Nuke for the first phase of Mari 3's exposed node graph and gizmos. This release is by far the most powerful, flexible, and extensible version of Mari we've made to date, and we are beyond excited to finally be able to show you what's underneath the hood. So I am now going to turn it over to the very talented Courtney Price, our creative team manager, and he is going to be able to walk you through Mari 3 and all of the other great features that are in this release. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. All right. How you doing, guys? Good morning. Right, so I'm going to take you through this Mari 3 demo, and let me just, before I do that, let me make sure that this is missing on the bottom. There we go. Cool. So, Mari 3, the release of Mari 3 was really kind of working around the idea of playing well with each other, right? With others and other applications within our pipeline as well. We've got a lot of core enhancements inside there, which means you can integrate it deeper into your pipeline, and also because we're now incorporating a lot of the key concepts and tools in the other Foundry products, you'll find that the uses of Mari goes beyond than just the painting application. Okay, so first things first, let's look at the Modo renderer that's been built into Mari 3.0, and the thing that to note as well is that you don't need a license of Modo to run it. We've got a tab here dedicated to the Modo renderer, and you can see as I start navigating around my asset and zooming in, you can see that there's a direct live link between the asset and the viewport that we're looking at, right? Now, this is multiple uses, because in the instance where now that we have access to the Modo renderer, we can actually leverage their procedural system inside of Modo as well, okay? So if we take an example, if we go into our bake option, we have a few presets inside there that we can choose from. So if we need to get a procedural, let's say the curvature mask, or we need to generate ambient occlusion, for instance, we can do that directly inside of Mari using the Modo procedurals. Now, The reason why that's really powerful is because the ambient occlusion that we was generating previously is on a per vertex basis. So if you had a low poly mesh, for instance, it would be a blocky ambient occlusion pass that you would generate. Now, because we've got the Modo renderer inside there, we can actually do it per pixel and get a much more accurate result. So to show you the ambient occlusion, I'm just going to switch to the ambient occlusion option. And this gives you some of the parameters inside of our renderer, and you can see it updating live. And we can kind of go into a certain particular area of our model just to see what that looks like. And let's say we wanted to change some of the values of our spread of our ambient occlusion. We could drop that down to something like 10. And that will give us a tighter ambient occlusion, and you see that updating. And obviously we want something a bit more reasonable, say something like 60. And we can do this on the fly whilst we're interacting with the scene. So we can see what our ambient occlusion is going to look like based on our geometry before we actually bake it out. So it's a much more fluid, flexible workflow than what it was previously, right? Once we're happy with that, we can hit the bake button. That will go through and generate the channel for us. And then when I switch into my channels, give that a second to think about it. Processing, you see the progress bar down there. And we switch into our channels. There we go. And if we have a look at our current channel, you'll now see that this is the ambient occlusion that we've generated inside of Mari. And we could just pipe that into one of our shaders and use the ambient occlusion sliders. It is a layer itself, so we can add in our levels inside there and start playing around with some of those values if we need to tighten up or soften the ambient occlusion as well. All right? Cool, so let's go back to our shader, see the final bit. The other cool thing about having a renderer, a full world-class ray trace renderer inside of Modo, inside of Mari, sorry, is the idea that you can actually render out high-quality images from the Modo renderer, right? So if we quickly go back to our diffuse layer, make sure we're looking at that in a renderer. We've got an option here to either preview flatten or render flattened. Preview flatten will just update the viewer for us and give us the preview of the texture in context of the environment lighting and the geometry and so forth. But let's say we wanted to take this out into an LXO file and do our finishing or do our final rendering in a full Modo scene. What we can do is we've got a path here where we can export our LXO. So I'm just going to quickly navigate to a location on my desktop. Let's quickly just jump over here. And I've got a Mari Man folder here with nothing in there. I'm just going to quickly write out this LXO in front of you guys. Hit save. That's going to go through and process and actually write out that LXO. And what it's going to do in the background is it's going to bake out it's going to export the texture and it's going to import it into the LXO file so that it's already set up with me ready for me to view. And also it will bring in the geometry as well. So let me just switch over to Modo now. That should have done. Click open, and I'm going to go to my desktop again. Where are you? Mari Man folder. Oh, not finished yet. Or maybe I've got to press the button. Let's try that first. There we go. So we could jump over into Modo. You can see that we've got the LXO file inside there now. Click open. And I'm just going to press A in my viewport. Kick off the preview render, and there you can see our asset inside of. Oh, got the wrong my navigational buttons. Where are you? There we go. That's the one. And all right. Okay. Yeah. So the point being is that you'll now see. There we go. That's the one I wanted. Muscle memory, and you'll see our asset inside of the Modo scene. Okay. So that's the first feature, and I think that's pretty big, and it's going to help speed up the workflow inside of Mari now. We're going to take a couple steps backwards so that we can actually start showing you some other features that we've included in Mari. So I'm just going to jump out of this scene and open up a scene where we've got to do a bit of work to it to actually show you some other parts of the demo as well. So let's quickly pop open this start demo. And whilst that's loading up, I'm going to talk to you about the FBX geometry support. So we've actually brought that in line with the Alembic support that we have. With FBX, we can now see the parent and child hierarchy inside. We can also import material groups and assign material groups that we've set up in our 3D application. So we can do that. And in this scene here, let me quickly jump into, where are we? So let's go into our channel. This is the hierarchy that you'd be able to see with your FBX geometry. And I'm just going to import an asset which is I need to add into this scene. And I'll show you another feature that we've included with Mari 3. So quickly pop this open. Like I said, that hierarchy idea, we'll still have that with the FBX now as we had previously. And also on this main asset, whilst that's loading up, give that a second, I'm going to show you the material group assignments as well that's been done with this geometry. So quickly jump over here, go into our selection. So now the material assignments that would have been made in Modo or whatever 3D application you use, you can see those being selected inside of Mari. And the cool part about this is that if I hide those, I can quickly paint those up and use those as masks inside of Mari if I need to. Okay, right. So with that said, I've just imported some geometry, and I'm going to point to the boots here. Now, in the instance where our geometry might not have come in lined up correctly, we've now introduced locators, entity locators inside of Mari 3, and again, these can be on a hierarchy basis as well, on a parent-child hierarchy basis. But in the instance where I need to reposition our geometry, I've now got a handle widget inside there to do the transforms, the move, the scale, and the rotate transforms inside of the viewport. So that's going to allow us to do it a bit more accurately, reposition our geometry more accurately. And if we zoom into the shoes part of this asset here, I'm now going to show you another massive feature for Mari 3.0 as well, is the idea of the node graph system. Okay, so let me quickly jump over here. And so from when we done Mari 2, we introduced this layering system, and underneath the hood was a really comprehensive node graph system in the background, kind of working and utilizing your paint layers, your adjustment, your procedurals, masks, sharing layers, all sorts, yeah? But what we've decided to do with Mari 3 is actually expose that to the user. Now there's kind of like two levels of being able to use the node graph system. The first is the more advanced level we're calling it, where you can pretty much do anything you can do in the UI of Mari in the node graph network, in the node graph system. And the other method, which is probably the easiest and the one that most people will be using, is this idea of a graph layer. Now, this graph layer button that's in the layers tab will create a input and output kind of bracket. It's actually a layer in itself, so it does have all the blending modes and opacity controls as you'd expect. But inside there, we can actually create a custom network of nodes that will operate on that particular layer. Right, so in this instance, exactly like Nuke, if you guys are familiar with Nuke, we've got a lot of the same functionality. So we can right click and pick out our nodes just using the sub-menus inside here. We can press 1 over the keyboard to view the operation. When I double click a node, it pops up the properties panel. So I can actually change the color of my color node. Also, if I know the name of the node that I want to use, I can press tab and actually type in the values. So for this one, I'm going to use a purlin procedural noise. Load that up, reduce the size of it. So now we've got our purlins inside there. And to combine those, I'm going to merge those two operations together. So I'm going to use the color as my base, over with the purlin, look at the result, double click inside here, and I'm going to multiply the two together. Okay. Now with that said, I'm going to throw in a shader just so that we can kind of see what this looks like with the correct lighting. I'm going to point this into the output so that you can see the result. And exactly as you'd expect, because it is a painting application, I can still come inside here and paint as well. So I'm going to create a paint node itself. I'm going to leave it transparent so that I can merge this over the result of what I've just done. I'm going to choose a brush. So let's just pick something like Cracks Flat. Resize this and make sure am I painting? Look at the result of this actually. Press 1 over here. So I'm just going to quickly paint over the top of this just to add a bit of custom dirt. Bake that down. Clear out my buffer. Give it a second to think about it. No. Clear out my buffer. There we go. And I'm going to merge this into the result of everything else. So get my merge node. Oops. There we go. Combine the result of my purlin and my color noise, my color procedural. Join that into the paint mask. I don't need this anymore. I can get rid of that and pipe that into my output. And we should see the result of that. Oops, sorry. Let's switch back. Make sure we're looking at the result. There we go. And now we've got a custom network of nodes working on this BRDF shader. Now, to take this a bit further, we can group these nodes together and call these we can create kind of like a gizmo, for instance. I could double click this and that will open up the node properties of it. I can publish the values of the different parameters that are inside that node network if I want to use those. And I can export and share this amongst my team if I need to use this over and over again, okay? But obviously I've got one that I've created that's a bit more complex previously. So I'm gonna right click and go into import nodes. And from here I'm gonna navigate to my, my Gizmo folder here. It's something that I've created in my spare time, well, previously outside of this, and it's a much more complex network of node. It's kind of like a custom wood procedural. You can go inside, and obviously, like similarly to Nuke, we've got like backdrop nodes. We've got the dots so that we can create our elbows and stuff. So it's a much more complex network of node setup. And here are the parameters that I've exposed where I might want to change the size, the roughness of it all. I can change the so the different textures, the blend amounts, and so forth. But like I said before, previously, it is just a layer in the layer stack. So if I go back to my layers, I can still stack another adjustment layer on top of it and blend this into the rest of the layer system to make sure it looks exactly the way I wanted it to, or I want it to, okay? So that's quite useful, being able to do that. Let's pull down my glossiness a little bit, my reflectance. So that's something I can do still inside of Mari, which is quite useful. Dependent on the task, you might find that the graph layer is more useful, or the layer system, and this graph layer button itself, or this graph layer option itself in Mari 3 gives you the ability to mix the two. So it's dependent on the task at hand that you're doing. All right? Cool. So let's take a step back and quickly have a look at the next feature inside of Mari 3, and that brings me on to this asset here. So I'm going to go into our ortho view, switch back to our channels, and I'm going to select this object here. Okay, and I'm going to go over here. Right, so here we've got a nice cute little asset, which is a pig. But the thing that I want to show you guys, and what I think is quite important, and again, in VFX, we use, it's the idea of open subdivisions inside of Mari. In VFX, we use open subdivs quite a lot. It allows us to transport lightweight data around, and we subdivide at render time, or have the levels of subdivision at render time to see how smooth the object would be. Typically when you're painting that asset, previously in Mari, you'd have to actually pre-subdivide that asset, so it would be quite a dense mesh. Mari's got no problem handling that data. But in the instance where you want to keep it light and you want to paint on cage meshes, what we can do is actually subdivide inside of the program using the Pixar Open Subdiv library, which they've kindly kind of let out to the public, and we've integrated it inside of Mari now. So if we go into our objects menu, we can go into subdivide, click on side there. We've got some of the more the typical subdivision algorithms that you'd expect inside of here. And we've got 3 levels of subdivision. If we click 3 and click OK, that then gives us a subdivision menu on our object. And as you can see on the cage itself, on the asset itself, we've actually got the cage that we've imported, but we can actually see the smooth subdivision surface version as well. And you can see how the if we switch between the two, you can see how the actual the UVs change as well. Update. But in the instance where you're going to be painting, again, I'm just going to do this real rough. Bake this down. In the instance where you're actually painting on your asset, you can rest assured now that whatever you're painting onto the actual geometry, so let's quickly get rid of that brush, is going to look exactly right at render time with the smoother surface. So if I turn our smooth surface on, you can see that all our paint strokes don't warp or change too drastically based on the baking from the mesh to the subdivision surface. So that's really useful, being able to paint inside there and having that confidence inside of Mari, okay? So that's a cool new feature. Let me switch back to ortho mode. Another feature that, or actually, probably not a feature, but another big improvement that we've done in Mari 3, I'd say, is the idea of being able to manage your colors or your color management from the ground up now. So previously, Mari, we had a bit of a hands-off approach. Let me quickly get my selection group up here and just hide everything so that we're zooming in directly onto his face. So previously, the way we handled color data inside of Mari is pretty hands-off approach. We left it up to the artists to, manage their color channels and use adjustment layers to do sRGB to linear or log to linear and stuff like that. But what we've decided to do with Mari 3 was the idea that we're actually controlling color management from the ground up. So it's rooted into the core of the architecture of Mari 3 now. So as you can see, if I have a look, if I open up this panel here, we now have the option to do a per channel color management. Here you can see that we're kind of broken into 3 groups. The first group is automatic selection, which is based on rules that we kind of set, similarly to Nuke inside of our project settings. If we're bringing in 8-bit, 16-bit, so forth, it will have a color LUT that applied to it that will convert it into the correct color space. And this is all OCIO as well, so we can extend this via over OCIO profiles that we might be using in our system. And if I quickly just hold on, having a bit of slowdown there. And if I use the example here, where I've actually painted up this guy's face in a linear color space. If I quickly go into my image manager, and I see these textures that I've used are actually automatically coming in sRGB. I can manually override this into a linear color space, drag and drop this into my viewer, reposition this. Typically I would have had to do this on the layer itself, but I can do this in the viewer now. So let's quickly get inside here. And I'm going to go into my layer, make sure I'm painting on the correct layer. Get my brush out. Oops. No, yep. Maximize that. There we go. Oh, I'm on the wrong channel. There we go. There we go. Cool. And I can reposition that eye to where I want it to be. Use the slurp tool. Make sure that it's lined up to the eye as best as possible. There we go. And bake that down. Clear out our buffer. And that will be in the correct color spaces instead of me adding an adjustment layer on that particular layer, layer in my stack to change it from sRGB to linear to keep it in line with everything else. Okay, so that's a big enhancement, being able to do that inside of Mari now, Mari 3. Another thing I'll point out as well is the new shaders that we've included. So let me take a step back here. We've now included a host of new shaders that inside of Mari just out of the box. So here we've got things like the Arnold shader, standard shader inside there. We've got the Redshift architectural shader, the V-Ray material shader, and all of the shaders have their own kind of channel pipe system. So you've got things like reflection, anisotropy, refraction, color, glossiness, translucency, etc. So all of the kind of channels that you'd expect to use in a V-Ray material, you can paint those individually. I think Arnold's got a subsurface channel as well if you want to paint that. And another Unreal shader that we've included is the Unreal shader for you games guys as well that might be wanting to use Mari to paint up and preview what that would look like in your game. With that said, we do have to do a big shout out, and I'm going to make sure I get their names correctly, to Antonio Neto. Let's pull that up. Antonio Neto and Stuart Tozer for developing those shaders as well. Great work, and big thanks to you guys for allowing us to use that inside the application, and just a testament to kind of like the community and people being able to produce stuff for Mari outside of what we develop in what we do out of the box. All right, cool. So with that said, let's move on to the next big feature, I think, and I'm sure you users will agree with me as well, is the idea of session scripts for Mari 3. Now, previously in Mari, when we're archiving a project, what it does is it actually kind of collates everything that's been used inside this project as an archive. So we're talking things like geometry, images, textures, etc. So it can really balloon and become quite a big file. It's really useful when you need to transport that archive around across multiple artists or different departments, let's say, and people need to see where you've left it. But it's not very flexible, right? What we have now inside of inside of Mari 3 is the idea where we can export a session script, and to do that I'm going to go into the file menu and go into this export session. And what that does, it gives you a dialog box to be able to modularly, if that's a word, export the different parts of your scene. So let's say, for example, we've got our geometry here, we've got our channels, and we've got the shaders that we're using, okay? And I'm going to minimize all these. We can see what patches are associated to what objects. It's a checkbox system to just basically decide what you want to export and what you don't. We can export the lighting setup and also the projectors as well. Okay. It does take a little bit of time to export all of this data, but what it will do is it'll save out a new file format called a .msf. And in the instance where I need to import a session, I can either import the complete asset as is and combine those together. So that's like combining two archives. Or the other option, and I'll show you on this example here, is I've had this asset painted up in a separate session, but all I want to do is import the channels inside of this particular session. So I'm going to go to my object, make sure I'm looking at my rifle, the actual asset itself. And I'm going to go into my session, and I'm going to go into import channels, let's say, and this will bring up another dialog box which is looking at the MSF file that I want to use. I've got the structure of my whole scene of what I want to import. I'm going to select these three channels here, and I'm just going to drag and drop them into the pulse rifle object, and you can see that they now become italic, and these are the channels that we're going to import. I'm going to click import on that, and that's going to go through in the background process and actually import the channels as they are inside of Mari now. Now the thing is that we do have a texture transfer method inside of Mari where you could use the point cloud and point cloud data of color and apply that to a new object. But with this texture transfer, what you're doing is you're basically doing a one-to-one kind of import of the channel data itself. It's not trying to guess where the geometry is in relation to the textures. It's actually UV textures that we're applying. So if we go into our channels, you can see that we've now brought in the main color, the diffuse amount, and the base color as well for our asset. So this is really, really useful, and you can see that the layer stacks inside there as well, with everything all hooked up the way it should be. And in terms of being able to work collaboratively, if I'm in a scene where I've got somebody painting up chairs, screens, tables, lamps and so forth, and I want to combine all of those elements together into one scene, I can do that using the session scripts now inside of Mari. Okay, so that's pretty much all the features for Mari 3. As you can see, it's a powerful release. I'm just going to quickly run through what we looked at. So out of the box, we've now got a headless Modo renderer inside of Mari 3. We've dramatically improved the FBX support. We've also got exposed the full power of the node graph. We've introduced the flexibility of the session scripts. We've introduced the industry standard shaders like Arnold, Unreal, V-Ray, Redshift, Architectural. I think they're buzzing me off. We've deeply integrated color management and all the way throughout the system, and there's a host of other improvements. A lot of these features can be accessed via the Python API. We've got a safe mode check-in now, so we can do different levels of safe mode check-in to see what might be going wrong, and also the texture transfer has been improved drastically as well. So Mari 3 is available to maintenance customers at the moment on open beta, and also available for release soon. So thank you very much. That's pretty much it. But before I finish, actually, I was able to create this asset using HP Z840. So it's a super powerful machine. It's just quite a complex shader network of layers and stuff like that. The driving force behind the graphics card is the NVIDIA K6000 on here, and we're also using the inside the HP the Z840. It's got the Z drive inside there, so when we're baking out textures and import and exporting, it's super fast as well. So big shout out to the HP guys and NVIDIA for helping us put this show together and this demo, especially me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Courtney.
No problem. Thanks for listening, guys.
So, Brad, do you want to come up and say hi?
Mic check.
Here, if you want to come and stand next to me, we can do the little person and the lot. Okay.
Mike.
You're bending down. So, Courtney, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Brad, do you have any questions? Because I have got some on my machine.
I do have a couple questions. Courtney,
Hello. Hi.
favorite Mari 3 feature for you?
I would say the Modo renderer, definitely. The amount of times I use session scripts while building this, I think that's going to be quite useful. And the node graph, I am really interested to see what people do with that. So I would say those three features are probably the biggest ones for me.
Yeah, I like the implementation of the nodal shading as a layer.
Yeah.
It's similar to the way we've done it inside of Modo. That gives you the power of both the layer system.
Yeah, exactly.
Overrides with a complete flexibility of a node graph.
That's it. So
it's genius.
Yeah, so there you go. Procedural networks, the node networks, the way forward, future.
It's all good.
Cool.
So you have some questions from the community?
Sorry, Lou. I can't. I'm sorry, I'm going to just be a voice in the distance. Maybe you're up there. Hi. So,
Like God.
Courtney,
Yes.
do we get a proper eraser tool in Mari 3, in brackets, after baking the paint buffer, aka layer node, clear as a shortcut, or brush?
Okay, so just to be clear, there is actually in the painting. Maybe I should just show you this. In the painting stack, when we activate the paintbrush, there is actually a clear option as well that you can actually paint over the top. Somebody, the next guest speakers will show you how to do that. So it is the inverse of the painting, which is clearing.
So the Ready at Dawn girls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The
So
Ready at Dawn girls.
the
that's
Ready at
right.
Dawn girls
so,
will have
yeah,
that.
we can clear paint strokes after they've been committed, but also we have the eraser tool whilst it's in the paint buffer.
Marvelous,
All right.
marvelous. Okay, will the node graph workflow reduce the overhead of system resource?
I don't know. I don't think so.
My guess would be that it would increase the
Yeah,
system. I mean,
there you go,
when you're calculating a node graph, you're having to traverse through that. So,
yeah, it's a lot more procedural than probably because the thing is with the shader system, with the layer stack, it can get quite complex when you're sharing layers, and it might not necessarily be the most efficient way of producing your channel, right? So using the node system, you can optimize that a lot better. So. Yeah, you could probably optimize it. To be honest with you, I can't imagine there being much overhead.
I think it just puts a lot more control into the artist's hands. And
Yeah.
my experience with having the combined layer with node graph is that visually, sometimes just having a layer system, it's hard to kind of isolate a specific effect.
Exactly.
This way, you can have the complexity of the node graph hidden in a layer.
That's right.
Go in there, kind of expand that black box, deal with it,
Exactly.
and then have the simplicity of the
yeah,
layer
yeah,
UI.
100%, exactly. And whenever artists pick it up, much easier workflow. So they'll be able to see exactly right. So this is the layer I need to concentrate, and everything else is pretty much automatic.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Courtney said, that does put the power into the hands of the artist, which
Yep.
means with great power comes great
you go.
responsibility. You
Spider-Man.
probably can optimize something
Yeah.
to be faster. Likewise, you could create a pathological node graph that would be slower.
Yeah, exactly. So that is it.
It's up to you.
Yeah, you go.
So, next question. Any updates regarding viewport speed? Comparable to Substance Painter, Modo renderer is okay, but we need more viewport speed.
That was a multifaceted
Exactly.
question.
Well, as not being a developer, I don't know how far we can push that, but I'm guessing the guys are always optimizing and making Mari just work faster under the hood. I don't know if Jack's about, maybe not, but yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more improvements to kind of make it a lot easier and fluid going forward, but it's pretty damn fast at the moment. I mean,
I can also just
Yeah.
speak to the fact that Keo and Duncan, we
Yeah.
have some of the best
Yeah.
real-time GPU programmers on the
100%.
planet. These
Yeah,
guys are
yeah.
incredible.
Geniuses.
They're constantly pushing it forward. Obviously, we can't talk about futures,
Yeah.
but you can see their next generation work inside of Modo 901 in the new advanced GL viewport.
Yeah, that's very true.
So there's some really incredible
Yeah.
things happening there as a foundation
Yeah.
for the next generation Foundry viewport.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So we're definitely working in the right direction. There's a lot of improvements going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
stay
I would
tuned.
add that the comment about having the Modo renderer integrated in.
Yeah.
But you see the demo here. We're showing kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Modo renderer being a production renderer, having that connected directly inside of Mari to previs things, but also the baking in Modo
Yep.
is incredibly deep.
Yeah, exactly.
And so bringing that directly into your texturing system is an incredible asset.
So that extensive library of procedurals is going to be. So I probably should have mentioned that as a feature. You can actually customize your own procedurals and have those as you can change the values inside of the Modo renderer. That's really going to extend the amount of masks and different channels and procedural textures that you can generate inside of Mari now, which is pretty powerful.
And let me give a little bit of Foundry humble brag here. The cross-pollination that's happening. You know, you see a lot of companies that have different products and they're kind of siloed and each group doesn't really talk to each other. To see the Mari view, the next generation Mari viewport technology inside of Modo 901.
Yeah.
To see the Modo render inside of Mari.
Yeah.
We're very serious about that cross-pollination
100%.
and taking technologies from different groups, taking talent and knowledge from different teams, and plussing the product across the
100%.
board.
Yeah, for everybody at the Foundry, this is kind of like our holy grail. This is where we want to go. So we're
Just
all
a
pushing
vector towards the future.
That's it. So we're all pushing towards unifying and making it a lot more collaborative between our apps.
I've got one more fun question. I'm a bit tired, so there's a lot of words that I'm going to stumble over.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm not technical. How about topological symmetry brush? I'm not even sure whether I pronounced that properly.
I know, and that's a feature request that a lot of people have asked for. It's similar to the ZBrush idea. Again, the guys in the office, they know about it. It's when it happens, it's a matter of time. Keep on shouting at us, let us know that you want it, and it will happen faster.
So there's a lot of love and excitement.
Yeah.
It's really, someone's like, I'm in. Nuke nodes for texturing in Mari 3 looks crazy good. Mari and Mari to Modo workflow on steroids! Exclamation marks galore.
That's a good quote. I like that.
Yeah,
We should use that in marketing.
Right.
Tagline on steroids. I like it.
No, awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney.
No problem.
Thank you.